What's going on, guys? It is Tuesday, August 13th. Welcoming in the first official guest on the YouTube channel. I got my cousin Neb with me, a lifelong Raiders fan. How you doing?
Doing great, doing great. I'm happy to be on the show.
Yep, lifelong Raiders fan. We'll be talking AFC tomorrow, but tonight we're going to start with the NFC. The most interesting division to me in the NFC is the NFC North. Got the Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings. A lot of exciting moves within that division. Any thoughts on it?
Um, to be honest, a lot of people may not agree with this, but I believe that the Green Bay Packers are going to win the division. You look at Jordan Love last year, he started the year off slow, but as the season progressed, he got better and better. And, he also almost beat the Niners in that playoff game too. But then you look at their offseason additions, they added Xavier McKinney to the back end of their defense. You added Josh Jacobs. They have a true bell cow running back now. And then their receiving core is very young and very promising. You have guys like Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, Dontavion Wicks. They have a lot of weapons. So I believe that Jordan Love actually will be a dark horse MVP candidate as well. And I think that, they're going to give Alliance the run for their money. And I believe that they're going to win the division.
Yeah, piggying back on the Jordan Love comments, I think that I wasn't like completely sold on Jordan Love towards the end of the season. I mean, he looked amazing, but I just thought it was kind of a small sample size. But when a franchise like Green Bay, like I just trust Green Bay's front office and their ownership, and if they trust him, if they like him enough to give him that contract that they gave him this offseason, if they're willing to say, hey, this is our guy, they see him in practice every single day. They see how much he's improved, how much he's learned behind Aaron Rodgers. If they trust him, then if I'm 50-50 about it, I'm going to lean into it and trust their judgment because I mean, they're hitting for a perfect batting average right now. They went from Favre to Rodgers, and it looks like Love is going to be somewhere in between, doing a lot of the things that people enjoyed from both of those quarterbacks. So I don't know if I'm going with Green Bay to win the division. I know Detroit's win total sitting at 10.5. Green Bay's is at 9.5. I think I lean Detroit with the 10.5 win total to go over that and also to win the division just because they're playing a lot of games indoor. They're going to be in the dome. They had a real good off season. Um, they really improved that defense. They signed somebody at cornerback, and they also drafted a cornerback as well in the first round. So I think that they improved in the backfield. That was a big concern for them, and I think Goff with this OC. You know that I'm not the highest on Jared Goff by any means, but I think when he has a real good play caller and he has a good offensive line, like it just bodes really well for him. So I think those two teams are definitely the top of the NFC North, but what do you think about Chicago? What do you think about Minnesota? Because those two teams are teams to me that have pretty good rosters overall.
I think Chicago might have had the best offseason out of any team in the NFL. I mean, they finally got their franchise quarterback. I think Caleb's going to be that guy. You added Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze. I mean, Caleb has all the weapons in the world to throw to. Even added DeAndre Swift as well. So I think Chicago is very talented. And last year too, once they traded for Montez Sweat, they were one of the best defenses in football. So you're looking at a team that can have a top 10 defense and a top 10 offense. They're a very intriguing team. I just think Caleb Williams, I think, I don't know if I think he's going to have success, but I also think that I don't know if he's going to have like a CJ Stroud type of rookie season where, he's going to be that guy from the start. I think he's going to have some growing pains, and that division is very talented. So I see Chicago finishing third in the division, and I think Minnesota, they got worse at quarterback with Sam Darnold. Now they lost Kirk Cousins to Atlanta. I think Minnesota will finish fourth in the division, but the Bears are a very promising team. I think they can potentially be a dark horse playoff team, but I think they're a year too early.
Yeah, I agree. When you look at Chicago, they won 7 games last year with Justin Fields and with all the issues that they were having at quarterback. I mean, Fields was banged up for part of the season. And it's an upgrade. I know that Caleb Williams, people have concerns as a rookie. I think he's -4 at Tennessee week one. And I know a lot of people don't want to lay that because it's a rookie quarterback, but I mean, even when you've seen him in that preseason game against the Bills, it's everything that's advertised. He looks amazing out there, and they did have the top defense in the NFL over the course of like the last 7 weeks or so of the season last year. Say what you want about Eberflus, the head coach; he's a really good defensive mind. So it bodes well for them. They got a nice trio at wide receiver. I think Minnesota, even though they downgraded at quarterback, they have a great head coach. a really good offensive play caller, I'll say. And they do have a good roster. Like when you look at the roster up and down on Minnesota, there's a lot of talent. So it's a really tough division. I see Minnesota's win total on FanDuel is 7.5, and it's juiced to the under, minus 168 to the under. So there's a lot of sharp money coming in at this time of the year taking the under. It's probably due to Sam Darnold being the quarterback. I mean, I think they can dress it up for Sam Darnold, make him look good early in the season, but eventually teams figure out Sam Darnold. And unfortunately, JJ had that injury today. He's going to be out to start the year. I think Darnold was probably going to win the job regardless, but not a good start for Minnesota here. Let's move on to the NFC East. Obviously, we got the Eagles at 10.5 wins, the Cowboys 9.5 wins. Juice to the over right now. You're getting some people buying back on the Cowboys after that Cowboys number got taken down to 9.5. I think it opened at 10.5, maybe even 11. The Commanders are sitting at 6.5 wins, and the Giants are sitting at 6.5 wins. What are your early thoughts on this division?
I think this is the Eagles' division for the taking.
Agree.
You look at their off season. Well, you look at their past season. You know they had issues on defense on all three levels. They couldn't generate pass rush, and their secondary was terrible. And you know they addressed their issues. You know they added Bryce Huff from the Jets. You know he's one of the best third down pass rushers in football. You know he may not be able to stop the run, but he's a pass rush specialist. And then you see them bring back C.J. Gardner Johnson, who was very key to their Super Bowl run the year before, the year prior. And then, you know, in the draft, they added Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, you know, two corners, you know, who are the best corners in their class. And yeah, you added Saquon Barkley as well too. You know, just that's just a cherry on top to already loaded offense that has A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, and you know the great offensive line they had. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's the Eagles' division for the taking. To be honest, I don't like the Cowboys' offseason at all. I think they had the worst offseason in football. I mean, you lost Tyron Smith, you lost Tony Pollard, Dorrance Armstrong, you know, who was key to their defensive line, and then you add a washed Ezekiel Elliott and a washed Eric Kendricks. I just don't see how they got better. And yeah, it's the Eagles' division for the taking.
Yeah, this division it's been like this for a while, but it's a two-team race. The Commanders doing some exciting things. Dan Quinn at head coach, Kingsbury at OC. Jaden Daniels looked really good in that first preseason game. The Giants maybe can have a little bit of a bounce back year. Watching the Raiders, we saw Darren Waller. I think Darren Waller, it might be addition by subtraction, just getting him out of that locker room. But it's a two-team race, and when you talk Cowboys and you talk Eagles, where there's smoke, there's fire. And both teams have had a lot of drama coming out of the offseason. The reports about Jalen Hurts and Sirianni. And, the million reports that we get every single day about Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones, CeeDee Lamb. Parsons is going to be due for his money. But I just trust the Eagles' infrastructure, Howie Roseman, Jalen Hurts as a leader. I trust what they're doing and the solutions that they're coming up with. And I also think these are problems that they had last year, and they still won a ton of games with these problems last year. So it's less concerning to me than Dallas with all the smoke that's going around in the Dallas offseason. I think Dallas week one might just get torched by Cleveland on the road. And I think the Eagles week one headed into Brazil. Green Bay is a formidable foe, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles took care of business there. That's not really the type of play that I would want to invest in, but I think it's the Eagles' division for the taking as well. I think they have a great opportunity to, take the NFC East back. Moving on to the NFC West, we got the Niners, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Arizona Cardinals. With these four teams, I know a lot of people are liking what Arizona did in the offseason. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr., a great wide receiver prospect. The Seattle Seahawks getting the OC from Baltimore, I believe, as their head coach. They also got an OC from Washington, the guy who was calling the plays for Penix last year. He's going to be the OC in Seattle. Geno Smith, I don't really like Geno Smith, but one thing he can do is he can throw the ball downfield. They got a ton of weapons, and it seems like they're going to be very offensive-minded going into this season. You're seeing some love on their over 7.5 wins for their win total. The Rams had a great offseason. The Niners, a lot going on still. Creme de la creme out in the NFC as a conference as a whole, not just the East, but in the NFC as a whole. The Niners are still the best thing smoking. What do you think about those two teams, the Niners and the Rams? What do you think about what they've done this offseason?
Um, I like the Rams offseason a lot. It's tough to replace someone like Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald retired, but I like what they did in the draft. They added Jared Versay, star defensive end pass rusher from Florida State, and they got his teammate in the second round, Brandon Fisk, defensive tackle. So they addressed their needs defensively on the defensive end. And then in the back end, they also added Cameron Crowe as well from Washington. He's an underrated safety. And Darius Williams as well from Jacksonville. They got him back from Jacksonville. So I like what they did to add to the defense. Um, I think the Rams are a playoff team this year. They won about, I think, 10 games last year. Puka Nacua is, one of the best receivers in football. I think Cooper Kupp can even have a bounce back year, being a year removed from his injury. So I think, and Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback in the division. So I think the Rams, honestly, I think they're going to be able to compete with the Niners for the division. I do think the Niners are going to take the division just because I think they have one of the best, the most talented teams in football and one of the best coached teams in football as well. So I would still say the Niners take that division, but I think the Rams will be a close second. I think it might even take until like week 18 for the Niners to really secure that division.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I think that the Niners, just like off pure effect and just default, how many good players they have up and down on that roster, and having Kyle Shanahan, I think they win this division just by default. But I think like when you talk about like the margin of error and just like the gap between them and the rest of the division, it's just shrinking. Like they make a couple wrong steps. They have like a little bit of a 2, 3 game skid during the middle of the season, and they might find themselves in trouble for the first time in this division in a while. So interesting stuff. Lastly, let's close with the NFC South. We got the Falcons at 9.5 wins. Obviously, they made the big moves of getting Kirk Cousins, but also drafting Michael Penix. Carolina made a lot of big moves this offseason. We've talked about them a lot privately between the two of us. The Saints at 7.5 wins, sitting there right with the Bucks, who are also at 7.5 wins. So, give me your thoughts on that division. Obviously, no one really cares much for the NFC South. They're probably, if you had to look at all four of these divisions, they're the division that's probably not sending more than one team into the postseason.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is the worst division in football between this division and the AFC West. At least the AFC West have the Kansas City Chiefs, the
Yeah,
two-time defending Super Bowl champions. So this is probably the worst division in football. I do
wouldn't
think
be
the
the first time we said that.
huh?
Wouldn't be the first time we said they're the worst division in football.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Falcons take this division. You know what I'm saying? I think they're a very talented group, but I think quarterback play was holding them back the last couple of years. I mean, Desmond Ritter's just awful. So you add Kirk Cousins, you add Michael Penix, and at the time everybody's thinking, why are you drafting Michael Penix when you already gave Kirk Cousins a big 4-year deal, a lot of guaranteed money? But it's like Atlanta was just trying to. They just wanted to lock down that quarterback position and just figure it out, and they figured it out. They're both good quarterbacks no matter who's starting, it's a big upgrade over last year. And they have Bijan Robinson, they have Kyle Pitts, they have Drake London, they have all these skilled weapons. You know what I'm saying? So now you have guys like Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix that can get them the ball. I was a little disappointed though that they didn't address the pass rush. A lot of people thought that. I believe they were drafting at pick 7, pick 8. A lot of people thought that they were going to go for Dallas Turner, Latu, but they ended up going the quarterback route, and so I'm a little worried about their pass rush. You still have Grady Jarrett, but they're missing some juice with the pass rush, and also back there in the secondary. I think next to AJ Terrell, they don't really have a cornerback too solidified, so that's a little worried. We're a little worrisome, but I do think their offense is legit. So I think that alone will be the reason why they win the division this year.
Yeah, I understand everybody being high on the Falcons. Kirk Cousins is a really good quarterback, borderline top 10 quarterback. Penix, obviously, a lot of people think there's potential there for him to develop into something really nice for them. But with him being a rookie, bringing in a new coach to start the season, I mean, it's addition by subtraction, just getting rid of Arthur Smith, getting him the hell out of the locker room. But, like it's tough because it's a rookie quarterback and it's a guy coming off of what was it? It was the Achilles, right? Or was it was Achilles
Yeah,
for Kirk Cousins, and
yeah.
like it's really tough to assume that either one of these guys is just going to come in and ball out right away. I had my fantasy draft last weekend, I was telling you, and I just steered clear of anybody from the Falcons just because I don't really know what to expect. Like this can go really well, or they can freeze up a little bit this season, and maybe next year's the year where they finally get right, or maybe you see signs of the offense finally looking like what it's supposed to towards the end of the season. I don't want to spend too much time on Carolina, the Saints, or the Bucks. I mean, these are teams that are kind of just mediocre. I do think Carolina is going to be on the rise a little bit with Tampa Bay's OC, the one that helped Baker a lot, Dave Canales. He's coming in to help Bryce Young. We talked about their offseason signings, and in the
Great
draft,
offseason.
they fixed up the O line, and they got Deontay Johnson. I'm not trying to sell people on Deontay Johnson. You know, he has bad hands, but he creates a lot of separation. Finally got a weapon for Bryce Young. Um, so that's about it on that. I didn't prep you for this, but before we go, I want to see, do you have a Super Bowl pick for us coming out of the NFC? I'll ask you your AFC pick. I'll
Okay.
ask you your AFC pick tomorrow, but out of the NFC, early pick. You don't have to stick to this. When the playoffs come at the end of the regular season, we'll come up with new picks. But right now we're in mid August. How are you feeling?
Can I give you a dark horse pick and then like the team that's a little more logical, like a more logical pick?
Yeah, yeah, go for
Okay.
it.
Okay. My logical pick would have to be the 49ers. You know what I'm saying? It's still a wait and see game with Brandon Ayuk, but they're just so talented. It would be hard not to take the 49ers to the Eagles just based off a talent standpoint. But my dark horse pick is the Green Bay Packers. I'm a big fan of Green Bay. I think Jordan Love is going to be an MVP candidate this year. You know what I'm saying? It's very bold, but I like Green Bay. I like what they're doing on both sides of the ball, and I think Jordan Love is going to take that big leap this year. So that's my dark horse pick. But my more logical pick would be San Francisco.
Okay, I'm not mad at it. I'm chickening out a little bit. I'm going to just take the 49ers at this point. I just probably the most comfortable, safe bet to make. It's not much of a dark horse pick because you said that they're probably the favorites out of the NFC outside of the Niners, but maybe if I had a second choice, it would be the Eagles, just assuming that the offense is really going to click this year. I think the Eagles have a chance to have the best offense in the league this year. Just so many weapons, and I think getting a new OC in there, Kellen Moore, it might just fix some of the issues between Hurts and Sirianni. So maybe the Eagles do enough on offense that the defense can hold up, and they make it out the NFC. Maybe this 49ers turmoil extends a little bit into the season, and it's enough for the Eagles to take advantage of it. So, you know what? I'll just go Eagles. I'll go Eagles. You're going Niners with Green Bay as the dark horse pick. I like it. We'll be back tomorrow with the AFC preview, giving you guys the game and the breakdown on all those teams in the AFC. We'll come out with some picks for that conference as well. Neb, I appreciate you coming on. Look forward to doing this again tomorrow. Appreciate you guys as always. Until next time, peace.